It's 9:58 p.m. Monday. It's now June 1st, 2020. The reason why I'm here is to go over things that happened today, and I want to mention this right off the bat. I want to discuss different aspects of, and what someone's attitude should be in the midst of all this. And I'm going to do this in another video probably, but I want to say this right off the bat before I talk about what happened today. Again, with the attitude, and I mentioned about a virus, whether it's real or not, that may go against others, the grain of others out there, even true believers, and even things that were said, particularly by Joe Imbriano, concerning regular medical medicine, allopathic medicine, and virology being fake sciences. So, others may have different opinion on that and actually be insulted hearing those things. I understand that. But on the other hand, I'm not going to whitewash things. And I just allowed that clip of his to come on there just, to make that statement. I don't know. When I first heard such things months ago, I said to myself, get out of here, that's baloney, saying that viruses don't exist and so forth. And I said, that I'm not going to listen to this. But after hearing more and more on this issue, again, I'm not an expert at all. I'm not saying that I personally know, the total truth about that. So I'm being honest about that. I'm not trying to push anything or whatever upon anyone. But, and whatever, again, that gets back to attitude. Some bringing about and bringing forth and introducing this information can seem very even crude and, not presenting it in a proper spirit, proper way, and they say they're Christians and so forth. I'll probably get into that again in another video, but I just wanted to, to make those points that I'm aware of these things. Other people have different feelings and may even be insulted because they may know others who have been involved in helping others through this, and they've had to endure certain things, maybe they're nurses or whatever, and so it may sound insulting and rude, and, others may think it's, by saying it's all false, that's totally not true, and they get upset. But I think the point is that what's happening with the reality of all of this is beneath the surface, and all the things I think most of us out there know, all the plans, all the things they're planning, all the patents and legislation and testing and what's already been developed and exists, particularly like from Bill Gates at the forefront of all this, and so it seems that it's very, very likely that the technology and all of this that they're searching for with the vaccine to come up with one and all of this kind of thing, and getting the equipment and everything, having enough means to do this once, so supposedly they miraculously come out with and say, oh, we found it, we found the cure, we have a vaccine, and but we're getting enough of it ready, we're trying to produce it fast enough, all of that kind of thing. It's probably just, it already existed, okay, and it's already set, so it's been ready. That's my opinion again. Now, I sort of messed up this video because I should have just talked about what happened today, because maybe others won't listen this far. But if you have listened this far, I'll go into it because again, you might be sick about hearing about all these mask stories that I experience and so on. I want to tell you what happened today because I sort of purposed myself and, said to myself, I'm going to test this. I want to really test this, and see what the reaction is, and go full tilt, full blast, all out with seeing what the response will be if I don't wear any mask at all and just go into places. And I'll tell you, I don't know what's going on because it doesn't seem to coincide with the laws and rules, especially in New Jersey, because they've been so strict. And if you've listened to my other videos, what I talked about in my experiences, I've had really bad run-ins, like thrown out of places, don't come back, and spoken to really derogatorily to put your mask up, put it up all the way, more than once. Other run-ins with people just in line somewhere else and giving me all kinds of garbage. I won't even go into it because I had my mask down and really let me have it like I was doing some kind of really crime, And so I had to go out today, okay? I have a bicycle, and that's how I get around. I had to go like 6 miles just to go to a post office, all right? So that's the first stop that I went to. And I said to myself, I had a mask in my hand. And I said, I don't want to put this thing on. I said, I'm just going to walk in. I had no mask on. And one of the workers there, I think they saw me as they came in. They didn't say a word. So I said, as I'm going through the second door to get in to where you go to, buy things, where they have things set up where the clerks are there, I put it on and I put it down below my nose and below my mouth like a chin strap, and I just left it there. And I was waiting to see if anyone else standing in line who were totally docile and said nothing. They say nothing. No one says a word in any of these places anymore. It's like they're just in total fear. They don't say anything. Anyway, I was waiting to see if anyone would say anything like, put your mask on, man, or something like that, or, you're going to infect someone or something like that. And there was some pretty tough looking, at least one guy behind me, and I said, well, this guy is probably going to give me trouble, but I said, I'm going to do it anyway. It's probably if he said something, they would have heard right there, the people behind the counter, and they would have, and there would have been a problem. Like, sir, put your mask on, or you're going to have to be asked to leave. So, and then I wasn't really I was closer than 6 feet, almost like normally you would be behind someone, but I was a little bit further than normal. Again, I just wanted to sort of test the situation, and I had my mask, like I said, on my chin, and when it was my turn to go up there, I left it like that, and the woman just, said, "Hi, can I help you?" And she didn't even really look or make mention of anything. I just told her what I needed, and she went and got it, and I stood there without the mask covering me. Other people knew I didn't have it on. She did, and I guess the other guy did, and nobody said anything. And I'm like saying to myself, this is pretty strange. I don't know what's going on, but I'll get to the next thing, but I just want to revert back to yesterday, because I said I went in a pizzeria and I walked in without any mask, nothing. I said, I'm just going in. I don't care. And I walked up, in and out without a mask. And to my surprise, they didn't say anything. And they were pretty, tough kind of people, I guess you could say, like that. So I totally expected something. Nothing happened, all right? So after the post office, I went to another store, like to get something, and I had my mask just on my chin. She didn't say anything. People didn't say anything. Then I went into a grocery store, a large grocery store, and I had it totally off. I just had it in my hand. I said, well, if something happens, I'll have it at least in my hand. And I walked all around. They saw me. People saw me. They didn't say a word. And they kind of looked stunned, like they're not even going to say anything, but maybe they're thinking like, that guy doesn't have a mask on. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. They're just shocked. That's the way they seem. That's what I sense when I go by, because they don't say anything. I just get that sense from them. They see that I don't have a mask on, but they don't say anything. Maybe they're wondering, and maybe some, or maybe a lot of people, like are thinking to themselves, good for you. I wish I could do that. Maybe they're thinking that that they had the, the whatever it is, boldness to just not wear it. I couldn't believe it. I was just totally walking around with no mask whatsoever. If people came by close, which they did, I sort of took it in my hand and sort of put it up by my nose a little bit, not real close, but just to sort of like, you know what I'm saying. And then as soon as I went past, I just took it down again. And I was walking all around. The workers there saw me without it on. Nobody said anything. And then I walked out, and actually I didn't even get anything. And nobody said anything. And, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if they're being slack, or they're not enforcing it, or they just feel like they don't want to bother anymore. I don't know. It's very, very strange. But like I said, I'm testing this and without any mask. And here where I live, as you know, as I said, look at the things that I talked about that I encountered, from just not wearing it properly on me, not even not wearing one at all, but sort of taking it down and not having a proper mask, and all the stuff that happened to me. So I want to end this by saying the last place I went to was a convenience store on the way back, and I was ready to go in. I had no mask. I'm standing there, and two soldiers started going in. I was sort of I was facing them, like as they were coming towards the door, and then they made a right to go in. And they saw me without a mask, and they had masks on. And I said, here we go. I'm going to really finally test this and see what happens. This is like, I don't know what these soldiers might say or not. So I walked in without a mask at all. I didn't see them. They must have been somewhere else. It wasn't a big store. And I stood off away from the counter waiting for somebody else, to go. And the guy behind the counter saw I didn't have a mask. He didn't say anything. Any other, maybe a few others saw me. They didn't say anything. Anyhow, how this ended up is that I turned around and the two soldiers were behind me, like about 6 feet, 8 feet, with a mask on. And I said to myself, I'm wondering if they're going to say something to me, like, enforce me or something. I don't know. But then I went to the counter and I paid for what I had. And the guy behind the counter said nothing, that's it. And I paid for it and left. And I went outside, and those two soldiers came out, or one soldier came out, and he immediately took his mask off and made a left back from where they came from. And I guess the other one came out. Yeah, then the other one came out, and they got in their car. And I was still standing there with no mask. And, I was just wondering, what their reaction might be, if there might be any, authority, or whatever for them to, enforce wearing a mask. So basically that's my story. And it's not that I'm trying to be arrogant, not at all, or just trying to be a wise guy, you know what I'm saying? And just, cause trouble. That's the last thing that I'm trying to do, or that this is all about, or the reason why I feel that, to do this. But I am just totally surprised. It's like one extreme or the other. And I've noticed just in the past few days that, I don't know, has something changed or whatever? I don't know. But like I said, I've just been walking in places and no one else does this. Believe me, no one. It's like I'm the only one. I don't think I've ever, well, I've seen a few a long time ago, but now especially, I don't really think I saw anyone, maybe a little bit, sort of putting it off, but, and, oh yeah, one last thing right before that, I was going on, in this strip mall where this big shopping center was, and there was other stores there. I was just sort of walking my bike along the walkway, going past right by the storefronts and looking to see what was open, and places still weren't opened, but I think I noticed that many more are open now, but people are wearing masks, obviously, have to go through procedures and so on. Still a lot of the stores you can't go in any of them, or I should say food places, restaurants, you can't even go inside. They have to bring it out there, and you have to be in your car, and they bring it out in a mask. Anyway, came to this one store, and I thought it was closed, and a guy was standing out there, and he was old, like in his 70s, but he didn't look old. He looked healthy, and he had like real white hair, like woolly white hair, and it was getting a little long, and I noticed that it was a barber shop or hair cutting place, some kind of cuts, whatever the franchise is, whatever the name is. And as I was going by, I was thinking to myself, is he waiting out there? Are they open? Are they going to give him a haircut? And he's looking at the door, staring there, and I guess he was reading what was on the door. And I went past, and I looked in, and I said, no, they're closed, to myself, there's nobody in there. And I stopped, and I looked at him, and he turned around to me, and he said, he started saying things like this is baloney, this is all a bunch of, this is, garbage, nothing's open, and, with this virus thing, he's telling me, I think it's all, it's false, it's not real. And I started talking, I said, you're right, I know it's not, that's what I believe. And, he's saying, like, look at all these people, they walk around, they have masks on, and they don't say anything, and they're being obedient, and he says, they're like sheep. And I laughed out loud, because I had just done a video with those lyrics of Pink Floyd, of the song Sheep, and, him saying that right after I had done that, and thinking about that along the way as I was coming there, the same thing about sheep. And so we had a few more words, and I told him, I said, you're the only person that I ever came in contact with this whole time who talks like this, and who says this, and who believes that. I said, no one else, not one person I've come in contact, they all just wear their masks everywhere, even in their car, they don't say a word, and you're the only one. And he said to me, well, you're the only one too I ever came in contact with, that talked about this, that said this too. And I was like, so that's the story with that. And I'll end with what I was saying about possibly doing another video about having the right attitude about this, because I sort of felt bad about that video and then I played the song of the sheep going bah, bah, and I don't want to insinuate like in a derogatory way toward people, even though they don't know what's going on, and they don't believe, because many of them will during the tribulation, and they will be saved. But my point is, I'm not like just being derogatory or having that kind of attitude towards people. That's not good, like I said, with others who present this information, they have that kind of attitude, especially some or many say that they're Christians, but yet they have that sort of rotten attitude, and even get on the back of people listening, and they might have like crude language and just be, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really show, you know, a niceness or love at the same time. So I don't want to be like that. And I don't want to shove my views, upon others, especially true believers, with regard to doctors or whatever. I was thinking of doing a health video, going into that too, because I'm I'm totally natural health, and have been for long, long decades. So, that's why I feel so strongly about that and all the problems I've had, you know, vaccines caused by vaccination when I was a very young child, and toxicity and mercury. And I've spent all this time searching out and finding and being knowledgeable enough to really understand what to do about my situation with toxicity and so on. I use homeopathy, like always have for a long, long time. It works greatly. Really, the first line of things that I use, it's naturopathic health. So anyway, all right. I'm sure you've heard out there with these channels or truthers or survivalists, especially if they have beliefs, especially claiming Christian beliefs involved, yet they look down and they talk down onto others and they call them sheeple and all this kind of thing. So I didn't mean to, imply that kind of attitude. Want to be careful about that. That part of that is not the right thing to do, although we want to, speak out. And I'm just trying to express that no one has said anything. They don't stand up for anything. Maybe, most of them just don't know, aren't knowledgeable about what's really going on. Maybe if they were, they might change their mind and understand these things better, and, not go along with everything they're told. I especially feel bad for elderly. They don't know about these things, especially older people like that, unless they really research and are online all the time and they know about these things, or they know what the Bible says. So they're probably the most in fear and isolated, in all of this. So, but it is like the Twilight Zone, like an episode of the Twilight Zone, the old original Twilight Zone of Rod Serling. If you've listened to my videos in the past, I've mentioned that, and I've done videos with his footage and talked about that. And this is just like a Rod Serling show, what's going on here right now, everyone just with these masks on. It's hard to believe. It's amazing that people are just doing this. They're being told, and they don't talk. It's incredible. I mean, no one talks. Anywhere I go, they're completely silent, and that makes it even more eerie and strange. Like I'm looking at some kind of scene. I'm looking in on something that I shouldn't be here, and I'm not a part of, and that has just gone insane, and everyone else is just, going along with it and just stupefied. Some say like zombies. I think that guy that with the hair, the old guy with the wool hair that I talked about, I think that's exactly what he said. He said people are like zombies, It was very refreshing to hear somebody talk like that. He had no mask, and he's like saying this store isn't even open when, I need a haircut. I was going to say, I'll give you a haircut, if you want to. I don't know how to cut hair. I cut my own hair, as best I can, but usually when it gets hot in the summer, I just shave it off. I shear it off like a lamb. And, speaking of which, I just went outside, and it's cold outside. It feels just like fall, like late October almost, It really does. It smells like it in the air, that smoky kind of fall smell, and very chilly. But it's there's been a few hot days the past several days, like in the 80s. So again, it's very strange. Others are saying that the seasons are mixed up. The sun is in the wrong place, and all kinds of things. Something's going on in the atmosphere, like saying there's indications that the magnetic poles are like wandering and drifting all over right this moment. And weather is really strange and crazy. And there's increasing things being spotted in the sky, unmistakably, really like a noticeable increase in this type of activity. Just like Jesus said, there'll be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, or signs in the heavens. And people are showing pictures that they took of the same spot or whatever, that they're showing the photo, and the sun is in a completely different place than it was previously at the same time. So I did a flurry of videos just now, and this is, I guess, the fourth one within an hour I'm putting up. So I sort of feel like, I don't want to say urgency, but I'm like a boldness or what have you, a timeliness, a sense that maybe things are really winding down here to just speak out, however long this is possible. And I don't know what the repercussions will be of me doing these videos, but I'm just doing them anyway and just letting it go, whatever happens or not. Oh yeah, and if you didn't realize it, if you didn't look at the description box or listen to the other videos explaining, the one where I was on the camera where you could see me talk, and I was, upset, talking about having been banned from a store, and a very serious situation, the way it happened and what I had said, that was over 2 weeks ago. Just letting you know that I recorded that. I'm getting the sense that things are winding down. Very general term. That's all I could tell you. That's the best way for me to describe it. That's kind of a strange image on the screen. I'm trying to figure out what in the world I'm looking at here. It gives a nice feel about it, almost like an abstract painting. I don't know where that blue is coming from. I'm trying to understand that, but I don't know. It's still a mystery to me. I just got up to look around, trying to figure out where that source of light was coming from. I don't know. All right, I'm just going to leave it off at this point. The things I wanted to talk about maybe on another video about the proper attitude, maybe or maybe I won't come back to do that, being that I sort of touched on that here. And again, I came upon a lot of information a few days ago, a lot of different videos with sort of updated things, fresh information about what's exactly being planned and the timing of it, So I might want to do something with that, but there's just too much information out there all of a sudden that I've come across. And lastly, I encourage you to make comments. I might be back to just sort of record someone else's video about the vaccine and chipping. Very good video, I think. It's been out there. You might have even probably heard it before, but I might just, play it, so at least you could listen to it. I don't have the ability to show things on the screen for certain reasons, and I have to totally mess up the positioning of my laptop, and then I lose signal, and it takes forever, and it took me forever to load the last several videos, so I'll try not to bombard the videos with things about masks anymore, because I think it's sort of run its course. And like I said today, I wanted to sort of, put the pedal to the metal, that kind of saying, test it full out and see what the response would be if I just totally had nothing no mask whatsoever. And I am totally baffled and surprised in light of the backlash and opposition I've gotten in the stories I've told you. Now it's like suddenly this is happening when I go out. It's like, it's weird. Oh yeah, one last thing. Then I went into a McDonald's, and I said I'm not wearing a mask. I just walked in. They didn't say a word, and they did in the past 2 times when I either didn't have a mask, or what have you. But this was quite a while back, but this time I said I'm not wearing any mask, not even partially up or what have you. And I can't believe it. I just walked right up to the counter. He acted like I had a mask on, which I didn't, and everything seemed okay. And I even stood back, and they saw me, all of them there. They looked and they saw me. They didn't say anything. Sir, your order's ready. And there's nobody that ever goes in there, like just me, because they all are in their car. I don't see anyone ever really go in the McDonald's, and I'm like the only one. And she handed me the bag. I said thanks. Had no mask on. I walked out. It's so crazy and bizarre and surreal what's happening. But I don't know. Also, maybe people are just worn out. Like they don't want to bother. It's like, could you imagine not only having to wear a mask for like 8 hours a day at your job? That's insane. But have to look out and have that angst, of trying to find someone who doesn't have a mask on, then get upset and have to tell them, the customer, you better put it on, or don't come back here, or, and then the employees get upset if people don't wear them, and they have to get emotionally upset also. So I don't know, whatever the reason is. I mean, not even a person non-emotionally, at any of these places just casually said to me, you got to put your mask on, sir, or something. Not even nicely, nothing. They didn't even do that. It was just like they didn't care. Really bizarre. And as I said, what's today, Monday? I think Saturday, the story that I said when I went into a convenience store and I had my mask, I think even my mouth was covered on this one. And the guy looked at me behind his mask behind there, and he was getting like agitated. And he looked at me and he said, put his hand up to me, and he goes, put the mask up all the way, put it up just like that. I was like, okay. And this was Saturday, and this is, the past 2 days, all the things I told you I've been experiencing where no one gave me one problem. I just walked in confidently. I haven't had a word said to me since all this. All right, well, it's probably way too many videos, especially to put out at once, and they're pretty long. But I'll tell you, it does feel good psychologically and mentally and every other way to feel free, to feel like, I stood my ground kind of thing, and nothing happened. It's very surprising, but it does feel very freeing, and I would be pretty sure that others would want to do the same thing and feel that also. I mean, I saw 2 Chinese women today in this journey, as I described all the places I went to before I got to the post office, and I had paused and stopped at this one light to like adjust things and take my jacket off or whatever and tie things. And I looked over to my left, and there, again, 2 Chinese women standing at the light on the other side of the highway, waiting for the light, sort of like looking over to me. And I kept looking and looking, and they could have gone a long time ago. I think they had the way. I think they were waiting for me to go. The reason is they had masks on, and I think they were afraid that I didn't have a mask on, and they waited for me to leave before they crossed the street. That's very sad to me. I know they're probably worried, especially maybe with experiences in their country, and maybe they were just, very, very leery and afraid to even cross the street seeing someone without a mask. So, and again, it was very refreshing to see at least one human being, after all this, one, talk to me like this, that old guy, feeling the same way as I do. That's a bunch of baloney. And, and felt the same way, seeing everyone totally, like he said, obedient. And he said they're like sheep. They're like zombies, I don't know. I'm going to end this here now. The only thing I'm kind of feeling is something unusual. I don't know if it has any significance, but I just thought I'd mention it. If I figure it out, or if there's anything to it, I'll talk about it maybe, or what have you. All right, that's it for now from New Jersey. Okay, take it easy.